Hi, everyone. Today's episode is such a joyful one and the perfect way to celebrate Pride Month. I had the absolute pleasure of chatting with Zach and Scott, two incredibly fun and thoughtful dads who built their beautiful family through egg donation and surrogacy. From the moment we hit record, their energy, honesty, and love for each other and for their sweet baby girl absolutely shines. As a couple that is part of the LGBTQ plus community, they walk us through their journey to parenthood with so much heart. Everything from deciding between unidentified versus a known egg donation cycle and finding a donor, all the way to delivery day with their surrogate and beyond. It's not just the logistics we talk about, it's the why behind it all. The importance of celebrating their daughter's story, navigating others' perceptions, and breaking down stigma around donor conception, and how mutual respect and love has grounded them through it all. This conversation is filled with laughs, deep insight, and so many beautiful reminders of what it means to grow your family with intention. And during a month where we celebrate love, visibility, and the freedom to build your family your own way, Zach and Scott's story will leave you smiling. Enjoy! Me, you, and who? Who knew it would take more than two people to have a baby? In a world where infertility is no longer a taboo topic, this podcast will take you through all of the different aspects of surrogacy and egg donation through the lens of many who walk this journey in different ways. My name is Whitney Hall, and I am a two-time surrogate, now turned surrogacy coordinator for Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, the very agency I used when I chose to carry for two amazing families. With this podcast, it is our goal to help guide and support you as you learn about what it takes to grow a family in an alternative way, as well as hear inspiring and beautiful stories of how this path has changed lives forever. We can't wait for you to hear about just one more way happy families are created every day. Well, Zach and Scott, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having us. We're so excited for this today.
Oh my goodness. And then for our listeners, you're going to have to go to YouTube because baby Andy also happens to be present. So if you want just, a little sneak peek of that precious angel, she's here too. So yes. Well, you guys, again, I'm so grateful you guys are here and wanting to share your story. And Andy, your story, angel girl. But before we even get to just, our star here, let's go back and go to the very beginning. We've decided we're going to grow our family. What was that process even like as you guys were just, going to determine how you were going to build your family and what made the most sense for you guys?
Scott, do you want to start?
No, please. Yeah. You really led the thing. So you take it away.
Ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to have a big family. I was like, I want kids so badly. And so when we were kind of finally settled in life, we had a house, we had the dogs. I was like, we're just missing the baby in the white picket fence.
Oh my God, I love it. We're going for the American dream. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I love it.
It's just something that I felt like we always were destined to have and needed to have. And I'm just so glad that we have it now. So
yeah, and I think it's a little bit deeper too. It's at least for me is I'm 15 years older than Zach. I guess as of today I'm 16 years older, and then he has a birthday next month, and it's back to 15.
Happy birthday!
Yeah. So for me, it's like, okay, as you get older and you start thinking about it, right? It's okay, sure. Yeah, is there anything I'm leaving behind, right? But for me, it's like I've always wanted kids, and when Zach and I met, it was a conversation we had early on: is do you want kids? Because a lot of gay people don't want kids. It's never a reality for them, right? It's cost prohibitive. It's all these other things. But for me, it's something I've wanted since I was a teenager, and I've never thought we would actually have a little nugget, but we do. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think you guys are highlighting a really, just important thing for the LGBT community, right? It's not a matter, it's a question of, hey, do you even want kids? But then you also get to, be faced with kind of the reality of exactly like you said, Scott. It's not really a question. It doesn't end with, well, do you want kids? Yes or no. It ends with, do you want kids? Yes. Okay. now how are we going to afford it? Or what are we going to do to not even just afford like the baby, right? Like we have to afford to like get to the baby.
The process to get there.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I don't even think Zach and we really don't even know what it cost. We just kept sending checks to people.
Yeah. I was like,
I love it.
If you stop to think about it, you won't do it. You just gotta say yes to every step of the process. So
right, it's like that scary. What was it? I mean, we were buying a house for the first time, and like we get to the realtor, and they break down like the mortgage cost and everything, and like my real estate agent was like, just don't look at the page, just don't look.
At it. Just sign, just sign.
No, for sure. But again, to your point, right? Like it is kind of that extra step, and you kind of have to decide, hey, do we have the means to do it? Okay, great. We think we have the means to do it. Let's move forward. Yeah. So when you guys, decided, hey, we want to go with the egg donation route, how you're now kind of, first, right? It's like, okay, do you want to have kids? Now it's yes. Okay, what are we going to do to get there? We decide we're going to go egg donation. What was that process like? Just even getting, deciding that the egg donor route was going to be your choice. And then you're kind of met with more choices, right? Like, are we going to go anonymous or not anonymous? We don't say anonymous, unidentified. Are we going to go known? Now you're looking at, just a database of all of, your possibilities. How was all that? How did you navigate that?
I'll say, because I kind of led the charge on finding the donor and like the agency and everything. Yeah. In the first place we found, it was very like cut and dry. It was, do you want a blonde? Do you want a brunette? Great. They didn't really give you any background on who the person was on like a deeper level. And I just didn't like that. I wanted to know something about who we were creating a family with, even if we didn't get to meet them in person. So we kind of stopped going with them because they told us, you're never going to find a redhead. Like we really wanted a donor that had red hair like me. So Scott could be the sperm dad and we could just carry on that way. And they're like, you're never going to find it. Give up on that. Like, that's ridiculous. And I was like, wow. Okay, so not going with them. Like, that's crazy. Please don't. That's so rude to say. So then the other great thing is when we found Egg Donor Solutions, someone actually called me. It wasn't just like an endless email chain. Someone actually got on the phone and said, how are things going? How are things progressing for you? And it was just so nice to hear from an actual person and not like an automated email. So that was really like the best part.
Yeah. Well, gosh, this is such a personal choice. Yeah. It's not just, like find my donor, put in, whatever, and then someone gets like spit back. You want to talk to somebody.
Exactly. Well, and it even goes a little bit prior to that. We really didn't know where to start, right? So the place he's referencing is a place out of New York and kind of the New York attitude and yada yada, right? So it was okay. It was kind of off-putting from the get-go. So then we thought, okay, well, we have this company in Mexico that we could potentially use. Before we even ended up with Egg Donor Solutions, we read a lot of articles and things about Niles still emails us all the time to check in about things. And but we were days away from signing a contract with them. And then our sister-in-law raised her hand and said, hey, are y'all ever going to approach me about being y'all's surrogate? And we were like, well, no. It hadn't really ever crossed our mind to ask you, hey, do you want to be pregnant for 9 months and carry, my brother's child? It was just this whole dynamic that we'd never really discussed. Yeah. So that's when Zach picked up and said, okay, let's do this. And we started researching U.S. companies, and Egg Donor Solutions popped up. And I think to Zach's point, it felt very welcoming. It felt like we were at home. We felt like we had partners through the process. More so these other places were just, let's get a contract signed, let's do this, and don't have your hopes up too high. There's all these different roadblocks and barriers. And with Egg Donor Solutions, I won't say it was easy, but it was easier. It felt more comfortable. But yeah, there was a little bit more to it than just, going on and finding Egg Donor Solutions and then a redhead appeared, right?
Right.
Another thing too with the other agencies we found is they wanted us to put a deposit down. So like if we found someone we liked, they were like, all right, put your money down. Like, let's get that wire transfer right away. And I remember our care coordinator with Egg Donor Solutions was like, nope, that's not how it works. We'll contact her. We'll get in touch, see how they're feeling. And if everything goes good, then you'll put some money down in a deposit or like a transfer. Yeah. So that was nice that it wasn't like a push to get money like as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well, and again, to kind of exactly what you said, Scott, right? Like it's a partnership. That's what this is supposed to be. You're collecting your industry professionals that are helping you build your family. It's not going to the grocery store and, and having that just transaction. There's a whole person and feelings and emotions and thoughts and just all kinds of things going on here just in the very beginning. And right, like it isn't an always easy, path. And you want to have people that see you as humans and not you as, a check writer. Like that's not how this is supposed to go. Yeah. So when you decided to go with Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions and you are having those conversations and, you're getting your phone calls and everything, when you did find a donor, what was that process like, kind of trying to decide, or maybe this was before a donor, had you guys really kind of thought through what it looked like to have a unidentified versus known cycle and what that relationship would look like? How was that?
So this is, I'll let Zach go first. This is where we diverged here a little bit. We have different generations.
Sure.
We have different ideas of what we wanted. So Zach, you can take it away.
I love it.
For me, I wanted to, since the way I saw it is this person is representing me in the baby making process. We knew we were using Scott's sperm, so the egg was me. So I wanted someone who was like me, even if they didn't look like me physically. I wanted someone who had a personality that kind of matched mine. And I remember when we found our donor, she had listed as her favorite movie, The Labyrinth. And I thought,
I love it.
An out there movie to put down. And it just made me feel like a sense of connection. And she also loves sushi. I love sushi. Scott hates it. I wanted someone with a similar palate to mine, so I had a chance of having a little buddy to go get sushi with one day,
Yes,
so,
yes.
For me, I really wanted to know who it was. Scott would have been fine with just like the detailed description of what they looked like. And, you know what I mean? But for me, there was a lot more of like in depth. There was a lot more emotion in it for me, I would say. Scott, he was very happy that it had been unidentified.
Yeah, I'm old school. Yeah.
That's fair. I don't hear old school. I hear pragmatic. I hear you're looking at it. Yeah, I hear pragmatic. And I think all of those things are, however anybody approaches this journey, right? Like it's unique to them and you should have the ability to do it however, it fits for your family. But I love that you two kind of had these two schools of thought and then, we've come to, where we are now. So you're talking a lot about like those personality traits and, and those things like that. And you get to know those things in the database, but then for that, for a unidentified cycle, you can still kind of know those things, but then you're just never really like talking to the person.
Yeah.
When you were thinking about, okay, actually we want to go with known, it's not just their personality. Now it's like, we're going to actually know their name and have like open connection. Scott, maybe I'll go with you first. What was your, to go from like, I'm good just reading their physical characteristics to I'm going to actually speak to this person. How was that jump for you?
So, initially and I don't know, maybe even still to a point today, I'm a little resistant because I'm very protective.
Of course.
It's just my nature of who I am as a person, right? My niece, my nephew, Zach, our dogs, like I'm protective, right? So naturally, I'm protective, probably a little too much so through the process. Where Zach's like, "Oh heck yeah, let's go to like lunch together. Let's we can go on vacations. Let's share like photos and pictures, and like we're pen pals." And so all of that is great. But again, I'm more I like to have a private life, and I thought this is our family. And I don't want to invite somebody into our family until I'm ready, right? I want it to be our family because we're the one going through the process and we're the one building it and all that. And I will say, through attrition, I have been worn down, and Zach's won me over to his side. And we'll talk about it later, I'm sure. But we actually got a chance to meet our donor. She came to the hospital and spent time with us in the NICU. And we got a chance to meet her, and she's fantastic and phenomenal. And but it couldn't have turned out any better than what it was and what it's ended up being. But Zach was always, I want to know her and I want to have her not involved, but I want her to know what she helped create, right? And I want her to feel comfortable knowing that. And then I started feeling like a jerk of like, well, how can I say no to that? Right. Like, I mean, if I say no to that, like I'm a horrible person. Like I can't say no to that. So, that's where it evolved from. But initially I was really resistant to it. But
Yeah.
as Zach knows, I warm up to things over time. You just have to stay persistent.
Sure, right. Well, you kind of have a vision of what it's going to be, and and this is so the world of egg donation has evolved so much in such a short period of time, and gosh, before you didn't even acknowledge that there was an egg donor, like you would just pretend, or right?
I had a friend who donated eggs like 25 years ago. She was a work colleague, and they didn't even send pictures. You just got words on a paper, and then they either said yes or no. And if they worked, great. If not, you just never know. So she said now those kids would be getting near an age where they might try and find her somehow. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy to think that she would pass them on the street and not know who they were. So.
Right. I mean, and that really, yes, Zach, to your point, like that really kind of opens the door to, it's not just about, obviously you guys growing your family and being those parents is so, so important, but, thinking about like that child, that donor conceived person becoming that grown up, and then, they're walking by, their person that they share DNA with and having absolutely no idea. You get into this whole health factor. I mean, it opens up this whole other, just world of possibilities and thoughts, and that, people just hadn't thought about prior to. But I think, I totally hear that side of things, Scott, though, of this sense of, I want to protect my family and what that means to you, knowing what you knew then versus maybe how it is now.
Yeah, and I think where I evolved on almost immediately as soon as I met Andy, my gears shifted. Right, I mean, I'm 42. Right, I'm a workaholic, so I work a ton, and then I started thinking, it's probably never a bad thing to have her surrounded by more and more and more people that know her and love her. Right.
Yeah.
So whether it's Zach and Zach's family, or my family in Texas, or the egg donor, or Hannah, who was our surrogate, and to have her, her parents, which aren't really related at all, but they still feel like they're Gigi and Papa, right?
Aww.
And they came and met her and held her. So my priorities shifted really quickly about you never know what's going to happen in this life. And you want to build the biggest, it's our responsibility, I think, to build the biggest circle of love around her as possible. And it doesn't matter who it is, right? I mean, I think a year ago it mattered a lot to me. And a year from now, I won't even remember that I thought it mattered at all.
Sure.
So it's amazing how quickly that shift happened, and I didn't even realize it. Right.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Right. Like, to your point, it takes a village, and who doesn't love, having, just a village of people just loving on your kiddo. I mean, that just feels good as a parent. Yeah. So Zach, going to you, why was it so important to you to have that?
Really, I didn't want her to think any part of the way she came into this world was stigmatized. I feel like if we just never talked about our donor, never explained, never said who it was, it would apply some kind of a stigma of like, this was bad, like it wasn't a good thing, we didn't want this to happen. And that's not how it was at all. So I feel like if you tell her like, hey, this is who, Auntie Morgan, that's what we call her.
Aww.
It just gets rid of any type of stigma that could be like, oh wow, like you had to use an egg donor, which obviously 2 gay guys, we would have to use an egg donor.
Sure.
People, don't like to explain it to their kids till they're older, and I just didn't want any stigma behind how she got here.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, and so, okay, so going back to, and you kind of touched a little bit on this, Zach, as you guys were going through and looking through that database and thinking about it from this perspective of, okay, we do want to know this person, and we know we want her to love sushi, and red hair would be great, and like all of that. How did you guys navigate that database? Because it can be so overwhelming.
It is. And like, shout out to them. They had a great selection, like really, truly. I was like so worried about being vain and like wanting based just off of looks, so I had it set to like, no, like I think the first time we had proven donors, you could look up who was a proven donor.
Sure.
And so we had selected that, but then I was like, oh my gosh, that's still a lot of people on there. So then Scott was like, just select red hair, just see what happens. And I think it took it from like 300 to 12 people.
Yeah, red hair's tough. It's not impossible.
Yeah,
it's not impossible, exactly. But it's tough.
And then Morgan's profile was the first one there. Like all of a sudden there she was, and I was like, oh, okay, we found her. I had no need for further action. I was like, Scott, you can go ahead and look if you'd like. I'm not looking through any more profiles. That's her. And was I not wrong? I mean,
and that's where I think just, we were a partnership on it. And I said, well, we're using my DNA, this is, this is the fill-in for you or whatever. Right. As long as Zach felt comfortable, I really think I felt comfortable. I don't want to say I wasn't picky, but I trust Zach. And if he found somebody he liked, I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Like,
yeah. No, for sure. So yay, it's Morgan. We're so excited. We've jumped to that step. What was the cycle and that process like for you guys as you were navigating it? Because I feel like, you have this whole journey before you even got here, right? Like you guys had you would talk to other people. You had a whole lot happening prior to, and now all of a sudden you're hitting like a new go button for, all of this. What was that process like for you guys as you were navigating kind of just the nitty gritty of what it is to go through a donor cycle? But then also this is known. So there is, kind of an exchange of information, and you're starting to kind of slowly build a relationship and things like that. How was that?
I would say, I thought it was pretty, obviously we selected you guys and it was for a good reason. It was so smooth. Like the communication was great. Yeah. Anytime I had a question, I remember we were like, all right, we picked a donor. Now what? Like, what should we be doing?
Sure.
Like, does she go in and get her eggs and taken out and we're done? And it was DNA test first, I think, right?
You have to do that medical screening.
Screening. And then we did, I remember something got lost, or like it took 2 extra days to get Morgan's DNA back. And you guys were so apologetic, and we were like, it's fine. Like, we get that they're not open on a weekend. Like, it's really okay. We're not like in a rush.
I think it's because it was like over a holiday. In fact, it might have even been over like Easter holiday or something.
Yeah,
and it's like, we're not crazy people. Like, we understand. we understand. But it was just like they were apologetic for no reason. It was like, okay, well, now we know we went with the right people because they're apologizing when they shouldn't be apologizing.
Right?
And it was just nice to have someone walk us through the process, because we live in Florida. We did all this in Texas. And I had been calling all of the Florida fertility clinics, and no one would call me back. And then the second we got in contact with you guys had us a clinic in about 30 minutes. That had us ready for our appointments and everything. I could not. My jaw was on the floor. I was like, how did that happen so quickly? It was fantastic.
And I think, like, in a nutshell for me, and maybe this is the root of the question, is like it was a little bit of excitement, a little bit of fear, like trepidation. Like, you have all those emotions raging. Okay, we've prepared for this, right? We know our relationship is solid. The finances, we hope, are solid. Like,
we just keep writing checks. They just keep telling us what to do.
We're gonna find out. It's like so then it's like, okay, it's like you said, it's pressing the go button. And I think truly, from our perspective, and Amanda, who we worked with you folks, is I think what I hope made us most successful is we didn't try to control anything. Right? We pressed the go button, and from the get-go, we knew the odds every time. It's going to be however many eggs you get, 50% chance that 50% of them, don't make it to maturity or fertilize, and it's 50% on the next stage and 50%. And we just tried to be very calm and relaxed through the whole thing, and realized that there was no point in worrying about it, because worrying about it wasn't going to do anything, right? It's biology. It's going to take its course, and we just have to just accept the outcome, right? And not try to control it, because you're just going to drive yourself crazy. But it was still very fearful and excited. Every time you got good news, you'd be excitement, but immediately the fear would creep in. Okay, well, now the next stage.
Sure. Right? You get to like have like a little party, and then you're like, oh wait, now to your point. Now what's up next?
For every victory comes the next potential soul crushing event, and every step you got further, that soul crushing event could be more significant, right? Because you're so much closer to having what your end goal is. The only advice, at least unsolicited as it may be, is just try to not control anything. And I know it's hard for type A personalities, and I'm probably a little type A, maybe. But it's hard to just let Jesus take the wheel, and just
yes. Let's carry Underwood that, and we're gonna just let Jesus take the wheel. Yes. I love it. I love it. Well, there's a couple of things I would love to unpack here, because I think that idea of, you're going through these, I always call it the roller coaster, these high highs and these low lows, and you're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, and you're celebrating those victories. And then, exactly like you said, that doubt starts creeping in, or the fear and all of that. But I love that you had taken the time, you knew what it could have looked like, right? Based off of the research that you've done and the callbacks that you didn't get, Zach, and things like that. And you were able to relax, still have fear, but you were like, if they're apologizing to us over a holiday weekend, like we don't have to at least worry about that part. And we can kind of focus on how we're feeling through this process and, navigate what that looks like. And that really matters when you're, building your team to help build your family.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you guys had that experience, because yes, as you are, kind of navigating just those steps and points and, celebrating those victories and, not sure what's coming up next. Although I hope you did know what was coming up next.
We did. I mean, really, I was like, whenever we had a question, even if it didn't relate to like the egg donation process, like when we got with more into the surrogate side of things, I could still always ask somebody and they would respond lickety split. They always knew everything. And it was just so nice to have like someone in person tell you, this is how it's going to go. And you're like, whew, thank God it's not the internet telling me, well, here's the 8,000 different scenarios.
Yeah, no, let's not go to Dr. Google. I love that. No, that's so great. So then as you're going through this process, and again, so known donation, right? You know who the person is. Now, I know, Zach, you had dreams of having lunch and, and doing all of that. But what is that? Can you talk more about kind of what does that relationship look like as you're going through the cycle?
I will say, so we didn't know Morgan until we were, in our second trimester. Like, we didn't know her name or anything. And that was one of the things Scott had kind of said, like, very firmly, which I agreed with. He was like, let's not jump the gun. Let's not meet her, get a big relationship going, and then end up with no babies at the end. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, anyway, that would almost feel like kind of a sad thing more than anything. So I agreed. And then once we hit our second trimester, I messaged her on the donor sibling database, I think it was called.
Yeah, the donor sibling registry.
It just snowballed right down from there. Like, we were talking all the time. I was just talking to her this morning about coming on here today. Like, it's a great relationship. She's such a nice person. There's no one better we could have picked to be part of our family than that.
So you're going through your process of just your cycle. And I know you guys have already kind of said, like, right, like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. How did you guys navigate kind of those moments? And what was it like going through that process just in general?
I mean, I think we stayed just in communication, right? With each other, with y'all's team. If we didn't know something or felt, if we needed an answer to calm ourselves, we would send an email or pick up the phone and call. And I travel for work, so I'm always on the road. So a lot of times this was where we were apart for sometimes 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time through the process. Like every time we would get an update, I might be in a different state and he's at home alone. And we had prepared for what if we get horrible news and I'm across the country, and you're at home alone, and then both of us are having to deal with this outcome alone, right? And that's sometimes the fear. But so again, through every stage, at least for me, we just went into it, I think, eyes wide open, and knowing that we had zero control of it, and accept whatever happened, right? And then lo and behold, like, we beat the odds. Like 50% wasn't our odds, right? I don't want to get other people's hopes up, but we destroy the odds at every turn. And I think
love it. We're going to cheer that on.
Yeah. And I mean, significantly so. And I think that's maybe because we didn't try to control everything, right? We did the PGG testing and we did all these other things that I think we felt really strongly we wanted to do. And we just, other than that, we just sat back and we just waited for the news that was going to come. And we were ready to accept whatever happened. Yeah.
One thing that also brought me peace of mind, and I can't remember who told us it, they said a lot of like the literature and stuff on surrogacy and egg donation is based off of heterosexual couples who have been trying for years and are some version of infertile, versus we're not infertile. We're just missing 2 key components, which are the eggs and the uterus. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He said, I think it was the doctor. I might be wrong though, babe, but I believe it was the doctor who told us, take everything you're reading on the internet, any kind of scientific articles, with a huge grain of salt, because none of these are ever done with strictly homosexual couples trying to have a baby. He said if it was a study done just off of that exclusively, the success rate would probably be around 75 to 80%. So that brought me a lot of peace of mind of like, okay, he's right. We aren't, there's nothing wrong with anyone's reproductive organs here. This should go smoothly. And it did. So.
Yeah, and Zach, as he picked, our egg donor, Morgan, I just think from the get-go, we just felt at ease about it, right? From everything we read about her family history and all the things, I think mine was more family history, medical history, and all those things.
Sure.
Zach was
very
more
pragmatic
personality, and you see. I'm the pragmatic one. You're the,
I see you, Zach. You're saying you care about family history. I see you.
I did genetics. I got my degree in biology. Okay, I knew all about what to look for, phenotype, everything. Okay,
yes.
So,
but the love of sushi matters too.
Yes.
It's funny what took first seat over second seat and third seat. Right. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
No, I mean, but that's so interesting that you say that, Zach, as far as just, and I think that really, again, kind of highlights, those, one, I can't stand Dr. Google, but two, coming into, these things from that LGBTQ perspective of, hey, like the stuff that's available doesn't always apply to me. And, kind of highlights that disparity, amongst all of that. And so again, having that trusted team, being able to ask, okay, hey, I'm not going to ask like the general population. Can you give me information about me and my journey right now?
Yeah.
And it's, that's so, so important. And I love, Scott, that you keep coming back to this, like, we had to let it go. We had to just not control all of these micromanage things.
You can tell Scott was very carefree. He was like, it's going to be what it's going to be. Me, I was a ball of stress the full 2-year process. I was like, oh my goodness, I could not believe. I was like, I'm so nervous. Like, I'm so anxious, but I'm naturally an anxious person. And I think when you want something so bad, I think it consumed our every thought for like the first fertility clinic we met said it takes on average 2 years from start to finish. And we started in April 2023. And her original due date was April 2025. So they were spot on. They said it's an average of 2 years, and damn it, it was,
Here we are. Yeah. So Zach, how were you what was that support looking like for you? And I mean, and this could be for the both of you, Scott. I mean, I know you per Zach, we're kind of having this, quote, carefree, idea about it. But what did support look like for you whenever you were kind of having those moments of anxiety, and how did you kind of navigate that?
I would take our dogs on very, very long walks.
We love a good walk.
If I was, the more tired, the better, So I was like, all right, if I'm anxious, we're getting up at 6 a.m., going to the beach for the sunrise, and we're going to get a nice coffee and just let it be. So it was probably my biggest, got to calm yourself down some way. And that helped me a lot. So.
Yeah.
And then I do what I always do, right? I dove headfirst into work.
Love it. We love a good distraction.
I stay busy, right? That's I think it's just different strokes for everybody, right? But that's just kind of our dynamic anyway. But yeah. So I think the main thing is staying busy, because it is a 2-year process, at least a 2-year process. So that's if everything goes right and you're on the right timeline, and the first cycle works, and on all these other things. But
sure,
there's going to be roadblocks, and there's going to be all kinds of different challenges, and you can either choose to just get over it, or you can choose to get upset about it and try to focus on something that you can't control, and it's going to drive you crazy. So, for anybody that's thinking about doing it, if you're not, at least one of you, ability to calm the other one, and then to let it go. If you're both full of anxiety and you're both going to try to control everything, maybe have a family member help you sit in on those calls. I don't know, but it's going to be a long road. Like if you don't have somebody that can just, see the forest and the trees and just calm down. So
yeah. Well, I mean, right? Like it's trying so hard to control an uncontrollable situation, and that's only just gonna make things just tough, just really hard. You mentioned a family member. What was family support like through all of this
I
for
would
you guys?
say, so we actually kept it very hush hush.
Really?
Yeah, so we had like mentioned it to people, but we weren't like going out of our way to like bring it up at family functions because I'm extremely paranoid. I was like, if we jinx it, we're screwed. So we didn't tell anyone.
There we go. We're not putting in the bad juju. We're going to keep it. Yes.
We waited till it was over. I was like, don't say a word. So I think we kept it pretty hush hush. I mean, like my brother knew, and then Scott's family knew as well.
Well, I mean, obviously my brother and sister-in-law knew because they were helping us through the journey, right? Like,
sure.
You know, so I have one brother. Zach has an identical twin, who's a nurse, and then he has an older brother and an older sister. So, and you know, Zach was raised Catholic, so that family's a bit more conservative.
Yeah.
So you know, he had only come out like a year prior to us like starting really our journey. So
like
I'm just saying, whatever. It's a year. So
you guys, listeners, if you're only listening, I need you to come and I need you to watch. This is hilarious. Zach's like, Scott.
Okay.
Actually, let me check my calendar right here.
I love it. There's an anniversary. There's a reminder. Yeah. No, I love it. That's so great. No, but that is a thing to navigate, though. I love that you're like bringing that up, though, because I think, you know, and I'll come out at this from my perspective. I've been a surrogate, and that was one of the questions that I got was, well, you know, what is what are your ethical thoughts on all of this? And I think the first time I got that question, I was like, I don't think I quite understand what you're asking me. Right? Like, I don't think I understand. So I tended to respond usually in a sarcastic and, you know, not educational way. Then now I educate, but then I was like, I don't understand. But how did you, I mean, that can be, that's the reality for so many, you know, Zach, like you, not only did you have like, hi, I'm coming out. So I'm, you know, your religious background of that is a thing. I'm sorry, go.
No, I had decided to come out. I was like, well, I want to have a baby. So it's time. Like, it's time to like, say this. Like, hey, we're going to get this out. Because we weren't even married until a year into the process, and we were on a phone call with the lawyers, and they're like, we're gonna need proof of your marriage license. And we're like, excuse us, marriage license? And they're like, yeah, like your marriage license, so we can go through and finish all the paperwork. And we're like, we're not married. And they're like, oh, in order to do this, you have to be married. We just assumed. So we went out to a courthouse that day, we got married, and then brought the birth certificate and sent a picture of it. And that's how we got married. Is like,
well, I mean, but here's the thing though, like we were always going to get married. We didn't get married just for that. Just we were planning on having a wedding. We just used those resources instead to have a baby, and who cares about a wedding? I mean, at least that was our prerogative, right? You're going to spend $60,000-$80,000, right, to come eat all your food and drink all your wine and crash your wedding, or you can have a baby, right?
Oh my gosh, you guys are hilarious. You're throwing me. Hold on. So wait, I love that, Zach, you had like your Scott pragmatic moment of like, okay, I need to have a baby, which means it's time for my family to know. Like, we're very like, I don't hear anxiety. I hear means to an end.
I was like, oh, that's right. I got to get around to this.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God. I love this so much. So, okay, you had just like, you come out to your family then, and now, we're doing this, like, now we're having a baby. How did you, and then, oh, hi, by the way, now we're married. Yeah. How did you kind of navigate, you know, what that looks like as far as just your family dynamic and explaining, you know, and just working through kind of, I guess, the quote ethics behind a donation and what that is? Because I that's not just that's not just unique to LGBTQ. Right. That's unique to just the world of a lot of people when it comes to egg donation.
Because I know, so my dad, didn't want to talk about it. He was like, let's just glaze over this, pretend like it's not happening, which was fine.
Solid.
I would rather not have to explain something you're not going to understand. And my mom was like, I think she'd seen too many Lifetime movies. She was like, what if the woman tries to steal the baby? What if the egg donor wants to come and get the baby afterwards? She was like so paranoid about like all these crazy things she'd seen on TV, which valid, I get it. That's probably happened to someone, but I was like, that's not what normally happens. This process happens every single day for tons of people. Yeah. It will be okay. And it is okay, you know, like so far no one's come and steal the baby.
Yeah, that's why we have the whole like lawyer thing.
Yeah, lawyer thing. I would say that my siblings were just like super excited. They're like, okay, this is great. They all, ironically, we started, and then a year later, my older sister and my older brother both had daughters. So now my mom has 3 granddaughters under a year old, and she just loves it. She thinks it's the coolest thing. All 3 grandbabies born within the same year. It's fantastic. So.
Oh, I love it.
Well, and like I said, his family, our families couldn't be more different. Our upbringing's different. Right? He was raised Catholic. Mine are liberal hippies. And all the things that come with all those differences, right? So I just think it was such a nice. If we needed to go one way, we knew whether to go to his family or go to my family's, right? Because we had, but I still think all the support around is his family to my. Maybe not shock, but I guess to my pleasure, has come around very quickly, right? His mother's been down here a couple times to babysit, and he's been down there to see them, and they're always checking in on us, and they've bought us all kinds of cribs and like a $2,000 snoo thing.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that thing, clutch, honestly.
Clutch, they've been very supportive. Where initially you don't know, right? Because it is anytime you bring in beliefs that are very strong within people's upbringings and life and you just never know how they're going to react. But I'm just happy for Zach that they've really leaned into it and they've been there and they've been a great support. So, and I'm also happy for Andy, right? I mean, Andy again, that increases her bubble around her.
Oh,
yeah. Well, that's beautiful, and that's wonderful that you kind of went into it with like I've got to check this box because like there's things to do. Yeah. And then you end up having, being pleasantly surprised and now having this support system that is celebrating you and showering Andy and all of that. And at the end of the day, right? Like she's here and all of the ways that she got here are celebrated and shouldn't be. I think exactly to your point, Zach, from the beginning of there's no stigma behind this. This is your story.
Exactly. I was like, this is the world we have and this is what's going on. Because I remember I'm the youngest child. So for me, even just telling my parents I was having a baby, they thought I was like a teen parent. Because all my kids were in their 30s when they had kids. So they're like, oh my gosh, you're a child having like, my mom was like, how can my baby be having a baby? That like makes no sense. So to her, I think one of the biggest things, she was like, you're just so young. I don't know if you should be having a baby so young. I'm like, Mom, I'm older than you were when you had kids. And she's like, well, that was a long time ago. That was like 26 years. I was like, that's still not that long, like in the distant past, But that was very interesting that I did not see coming at all.
And my mother, who will probably never watch this podcast because she couldn't figure out how to watch it. We surprised her. I went to Texas and because I hadn't seen him in a while, post COVID and everything, got busy with work and just hadn't been there in a while. So we show up and she's 71 and she'll always remind you of how old she is. She's at that age. Yeah. And so we get there and we're standing in the kitchen and we're like, I have my nephew announced. He brings over the sonogram of where Andy has her very first little, nugget sonogram.
Yeah.
And he announces, oh, we're pregnant. She's like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. And then I was like, so what else do you have to say? And then he points to his mom, my sister-in-law, and says, she's carrying it. And my mother throws herself on the floor and starts screaming, no! And has this dramatic breakdown about how Hannah shouldn't be carrying the baby and everybody just standing around looking like, what is happening right now? And, I'm like, oh my gosh. So she got on board really quickly after that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
What? She had her moment.
Yep. Then 10 minutes later, she's like, I said this. I said you guys should have been doing this all along. And we're like, you just threw yourself on the ground and had a tantrum for 10 minutes. And now you're like,
whoa, what a flip. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Because again, I think it was like that she'd seen too many Lifetime movies and she was like, this is too close to home. And she also, doesn't have a good understanding of genetics. So I think she thought Hannah was also going to be the biological mother.
I was about to ask, was that where the confusion was?
Yeah. Even till this day, we still have to correct her when she's talking. No. Hannah is not the biological parent. She carried Andy Joe for us, but she's not biologically tied to her at all.
So the funny thing is, there's just a lot of generations that come into play here, right? You have a baby boomer, then Zach's parents are different, then it's Gen Z, millennial. You have all these different generations trying to figure out, a process, right? And there's all these different, like Zach said, there's some stuff that are stigmas, right?
Sure.
So working through all of that, through every different generational view, was fun for me because everybody's just like, they're all crazy. Like, whatever.
This cannot be getting any more juicy and better for me.
And I was just enjoying it. It's like, because we're doing it regardless. We're just letting you know so you can be part of the process. We're not asking for your opinion.
Yeah. That's the best way to go into it. I am not asking your permission and I'm not asking your opinion.
No.
People love to throw their 2 cents in. It's like, I'm so glad that was how you did things. I'm so glad that's how you see the world, but that's not how we're doing it. So
yeah. Do you guys like still, and maybe then, like, did it ever just become too much to feel like you were like, oh my gosh, I guess kind of like the bearer of like needing to educate. Like, has that ever been?
I wouldn't say so. I feel like Scott is more of a, I said it, so that's fact. Like, we don't need to explain anything. Versus me, I'll like start off with an explanation, and Scott's like, get to the point. Just tell him what's going on. And that's it. And I think that's like, we're kind of a good marriage in that way of like, I'm really down to explain every last detail versus Scott's like, I said it, so it is. You know, it's like not that big of a deal. And
go if you're interested, go look it up, right? Yeah. Or I'll tell you about it later when I have time. But like, this is like, I don't need to teach a class on it. Like
yeah.
So but I mean, through the whole thing, right? I mean, it was nothing but joy. Like outside of just that, if you look at it from 30,000 feet, bird's eye view, if you go back and look at everything. Just there's no point to get frustrated or anything else, and we didn't, right? We just kind of took it step by step, and I really enjoyed the process. I'm chomping at the bit to go again. So
Scott's ready for baby number 2 already. I'm like, you better.
Oh, I love it! Oh my gosh, Andy, you're still fresh, and you're already looking at being a big sister. I love it.
Well, we still have 5 embryos left too, so we had a good little.
You guys had a great cycle. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it's wonderful that you were having all of these big personal huge things happening simultaneously while you're building your family. I mean, there's so much there. What, I guess maybe, Andy's now here, our sweet little star, who I'm assuming is snoozing right now.
Yes, absolutely. Cold. Yep.
Love it. Way to go, girl. What do you want Andy to know about her story? Because Zach, from the very beginning, I mean, you've kind of had this like, there's no stigma. We're celebrating all of this. Like, we are proud. Like, what does that look like for her?
Well, right now I'm currently working on her baby book, which is we're calling it the group project.
The group project.
Everything from day one when we sent our first email up to when she's born. And then after she's born, I'm going to have like a normal baby book that explains like year 1 of her life. But I'm going to do like a more detailed, like, this is how we met, Auntie Morgan. This is how we decided that Hannah was going to carry you. So it's just going to be like a little more of an in-depth thing. So when she's older and she has a question, maybe we're not so sharp 10 years down the road on what all went down. And I have right there for her. So that's really, I think, our big, like, let's write it all down so we all have it. So that way, because, time is horrible on the brain. So I just want to make sure we have it all down in one spot that she can read it and be like, this is how I got here. And it's a nice, easy flow for her.
Yeah. So you guys had kind of already mentioned it, during the cycle, you weren't, you had kind of said, hey, like the boundary that we're putting in place is, we will meet Morgan or talk to Morgan or kind of open up that communication when there's a baby on board.
Yep.
How has that relationship evolved from, Scott being like, nope, I don't even like, nope, absolutely not, to all of a sudden you said, Zach, you're like, all right, we're reaching out on the DSR and now we're chatting away. And I think Scott, you said she came to the hospital. I mean, what was all of that? Yeah.
I will say we didn't want, I think he was smart and like, okay, we're not going to really tell, because we barely even told family members that we were having a baby, right? So like, he was like,
well, sure, we have people throwing themselves on the floor and, it's a lot.
And then once we met her, I was like, it was very coy. Like, I like messaged her on the database and was like, oh, hey, like, we're having a baby. Like, thank you so much for everything. And we chatted that way. And then she had said something about she was coming home from Orlando. And I was like, oh, that's so crazy because we live in Florida. And it was like, oh, wow, what a small world. What are the odds of that? And then I asked if she would like to see a sonogram picture, but the database doesn't let you send pictures to people. And I was like, if you're comfortable, like we could like text, email, whatever you're most comfortable with. And she sent me her phone number. I was like, oh, we're in. Like she wants a relationship as bad as I want one. And it was everything from there. Because Andy came 5 weeks early. So we had planned to have her come to the Airbnb we were renting in Texas and like come and meet her. But then I was like, right, we're in the NICU. And I had messaged her. I was like, would you like to come tomorrow to the hospital? And she was like, absolutely. And so she was there, I think, 2 days after Andy was born?
Yeah.
I mean,
she came, I think 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
I think she was there 2 days after. I think she came the last day before we went home.
Yep.
And then she's coming to next month for Zach's birthday
to Florida.
Like,
yeah.
So
great. I mean, like it really is like you're building a family. Like we got so many more family members than we ever would have expected. We were expecting a little baby, but it's gotten us closer to my family, to Scott's family, to Morgan and her family. It's just such a beautiful experience, and your family grows so much because they always say in the gay community, you build your family, you pick your family. It's more of a chosen family, and it's really shown through in this process where we have chosen our family, and it's a beautiful process.
Because I was ready to unchoose some people. I was like, okay, let's just I'm looking for a reason. I've been looking for a reason for 10 years, okay? Like I'm
dying.
Like I will unchoose your ass like right now.
I love a boundary. I love a boundary, Scott. Yes. You've already said it, Scott, right? Like you kind of had this idea and this vision and these thoughts and, you were protective. You were coming at it from this, this certain perspective that you had already built. And then the minute you meet her, you're like, who wouldn't want to love this kiddo? And why wouldn't I want her circle to grow and just have more people loving in on this little nugget? Like support through this process can look so different for so many. And you do get to have to quote what Zach said, you have your chosen family. And then you guys still had your, came into the world family, and everybody kind of got there at their own pace. And that's beautiful. And at the end of the day, I mean, you have that sweet little precious bundle, and she's so cute and cute aggression. Oh,
and
so
at
much.
The end of the day, all the other BS, whatever, there's always some kind of something in life, right?
Someone always has something to say.
There's always something, or you don't feel good, or people are going to come and go and lose jobs or get jobs. Life goes on, right? But at the end of the day, then it all becomes about her experience and what her life is going to be. Not to say you give up your life, right? You don't do that. But as anybody that's ever been a new parent or expecting to be a parent, it changes so quickly, the dynamic of just how you live your life, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's so beautiful that, again, kind of going back to like this theme of, Scott, you came at this from, I'm going to protect my family. I'm going to protect, this future baby. I'm going to protect, Andy and her story. And Zach, it was so important to you you're going to know your story. You're going to know that, that love of sushi comes from, this place and, just all of that. And I think it's so beautiful that you're celebrating each and every one of these, just all of these parts and ingredients that have created, Andy and now her story. And I feel like that's just I think that's just some of the magic between, just building your family in this way. And then also some of that magic with having that, choosing to go known and having that wonderful family that steps up and says, hey, I want to, be the oven for your bun sort of situation. Right. Like, I mean, it's beautiful. And you guys have done such an amazing job of navigating that and taking your, going about it in like a, what will be, taking our early morning walks and easing our anxiety. I mean, every single point of y'all's experience and journey has, led to this sweet little angel. Oh my goodness. And all of that should be celebrated.
And I think that's where I can look back on it, and Zach and I, people think, oh my God, they're fighting. We bicker all the time. Or that's just
it's beautiful.
Who we are,
no,
right?
I love it. I'm here for it.
That's our love language. But the one thing we never did through this process is we never got frustrated at each other. We never got mad at each other. We never said, well, your view's wrong and my view's right. And that's the only, maybe I did once or twice. I'll own it. But We never we held each other accountable to the process, but we never gave each other flack for it if we disagreed with what their view was on it. Because at the end of the day, it's Zach and Andy's story, and it's me and Andy's story, and it's Andy's story, and there's a lot that goes into it. And we just, I think we learned to appreciate each other a lot more through the process, even if we didn't always agree, because you don't always have to agree. But I think you both, you just warm up to the idea and you just figure it out as you go. But if anything, it's really helped our relationship get so much stronger. And now we were already thick as thieves, and I was never going to let him out of this marriage no matter what.
Beautiful.
I was never going to sign the papers, people, in case you're wondering, why didn't he divorce that guy? It was never going to happen.
It's not an option, friends.
Not an option.
No, I think that's beautiful. And I think that's a great just summation of, what this process can be like because yes, at the end of the day, you may not always agree, but you can get to a mutual respect of one another. And that's just in general, right? Like as you're navigating family members, learning about this process and, navigating education and, as you get to navigate what it looks like to, for Andy to hear her story and then for her to share her story. And, I can already tell Scott's going to be like, what it is it is going to be Andy. You don't need to give an explanation.
Exactly. And we were out somewhere and Andy has red hair like me, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
And someone walks up, this, innocent woman. She's like, oh my gosh, she looks just like you. And, she's not biologically related to me at all. And I just go to start saying something, and Scott's like, doesn't he? Don't they look just alike? And I was like, he's right. You don't need to give people like this long explanation every single time. Just take the compliment and keep it pushing, And I
there you
really
go.
appreciated that. So
because at the end of the day, we picked Morgan because she looked a lot like you. Y'all could be family, right? Could be brother, sister, whatever. So I'm happy about that, right? The reality is Andy's probably going to get a lot more years with Zach probably than she will with me, right? I'm older. And I want them to. That was what was very important to me. Is I want.
Song he always sings.
I know.
I'm serious.
So dark. It's so dark.
But it's
He's very pragmatic. I hear it. I hear the reality. I hear it.
It's reality, people. Okay, it's how guys. It's science. Okay, it's science.
Zach knows science. I hear him know science. The
efficiency rate is pretty good these days, so I think.
But I hear your sentiment. I hear your sentiment, Scott. You had this, hey, this is important. We're looking ahead to things. No, I hear it. And again, like those, exactly to your point, the random person that you meet on the street is not owed that explanation. And that is okay. And it's your story to tell when you're ready to tell it and how you tell it. And I love that you guys are coming at it from this place of just celebration and owning it and loving it and just, being so proud of your little family that you've created. You have made room for each other as you're navigating each point of this journey and made room for everybody else's, kind of perspective. Didn't need their opinion, didn't ask for their opinion, but you made room for it.
Exactly.
And, and that's beautiful. I mean, again, right? Like at the end of the day, it ended up now Andy has just this beautiful village and all of these people that are just loving on her. And it's amazing. I have two more questions for you. If you could give any advice, and you kind of have already sprinkled little nuggets throughout, but if you could give any advice to any parent who is thinking about going through the egg donation process, whether it's, looking at unidentified versus known, or really just the egg donation process in general, even, maybe specifically LGBTQ, what advice would you want to give to a parent as they're kind of figuring this out?
I mean, I've already kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit, right? It's if I had to have the most significant thing for me is don't be afraid to start. And it's kind of a 3-part, right? And maybe it's all mixed into one, but don't be afraid to start. If you're not comfortable with a team that's around you, including your spouse or their family or your family or the egg donor solutions folks that you pick, if you're not comfortable with any part of that, pause and do something else, right? 'Cause you're about to make a commitment for the rest of your life to bring another human into this world. You want to make sure that you have a solid the whole way through. But I would say, relax. Don't try to own the process. You have to pick the right team around you. And just eyes wide open, right? You can't put your head in the sand and just think, well, the statistics won't matter to me, or it's not going to cost me $80,000. I can get it done for 50. Like, just don't, be practical, right? It's it's kind of like
if you're going to cut corners, this is not the thing to cut corners on.
It's not. And the way I looked at it, and it sounds so bad probably, but I looked at it as a home remodel, right? You need to figure out what your cost is and add 20%. That's really what it was, right? Figure out what you think it's going to cost and then add 20% to it. But for me, I look at it as I've made, and I can look at it my story, not me and Zach's, whatever, but just my story. Like, I made it through this process. Would I do it again? And if I could go back in 2 years to April of 2023, would I start that process again, knowing what I know now? Hell yeah. Because we picked the right people. Amanda and y'all's company led us, really from not knowing what the hell we were doing to where we feel like I feel like we could, write a book on it and do it. So, but for me, the one thing that through it all that I think led me through it to where I think I would do it again is you just cannot try to control what you can't control. And I think that's just anything in life, really. There was this movie years ago with Tom Hanks. It was Bridge of Spies, and he gets caught and he's sitting in a room with another guy, whichever side of the table he's on. And he asked the guy, a spy, aren't you worried? And the guy said, well, would it change anything? Me sitting in this room with you getting caught as a spy, you're asking me if I'm worried. Well, would it change anything?
Sure.
So that's always in my mind. That part of the movie stuck out for me, and I've kind of lived that way in my life of why would I worry? It's not going to change anything. Like, what's going to be is going to be, and you just have to do the best you can. You got to put your best out there and hope you get the best back.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. And I love that you felt, the fact that you would say, I feel like I could write a book now. I love that you have felt so empowered throughout the process you knew what was coming, and you had so much trust in you had taken the time to build a team that you trusted so you could step back and be on that side of the table and say, I can't worry.
Maybe it's like a short graphic novel. I don't know, book. Yeah. Maybe a short graphic novel. Maybe like a pop-up book. Like,
there you go. There you go.
Like You, Me, and Who. Like in Pop Little Dinosaur.
A pop-up book. Oh my gosh.
A pop-up book because her theme is dinosaurs. Like, build like a whole dinosaur theme into it or something. I don't know. I'm gonna make some notes. Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. I can already see your wheels turning. What about you, Zach? What would be your advice?
From like the LGBTQ plus community side of things is, and Scott had said this too when I asked like, why didn't you have kids at like a younger age? He always said it just seems so like impossible. But once we were together and we had the house and the dogs, it suddenly seemed like a real possibility for us. And I remember when I told my dad I was gay, he said, well, congrats, you're giving up the best things in life. You'll never have a family. You won't have any of those things.
Oh, wow.
I was like, we had already kind of started this process a little bit. So I was like, well, he's wrong, but I'm going to let him have his moment and just prove him wrong about it. And we did. And like, he loves Andy and he loves how it is now. But like, I think for him, it was that shock. And for a lot of people, it seems like, well, everything you've seen in the movies or that you've wanted your whole life is out the window, but it's not. It's always obtainable. Even if you have to save for like 20 years for it, it's completely worth it and totally a possibility.
Yeah.
That's what I would say the big take home is.
Yeah, and Zach, everybody has an opinion. I mean, go online. Everybody wants to sit behind a keyboard or a computer, whatever, or a cell phone and have an opinion about something.
Sure.
His dad was coming from a place of love for Zach, right?
Yeah.
He had grown up and experienced them. Like that was his perspective of things. And now it's a lot because he has a very different perspective. But that was truly, he thought he was being nice to me in that moment, But
I don't know. But I mean, as I sit here, I think also the thing for us is we talked a lot about this, and I think maybe I'll change my number one piece of advice from what I've said in the past to just start, right? Just start, because we talked about okay, because we wanted to plan it out so perfectly, right? Well, if we do it in 6 months, we'll have blank. And if we do it in 6 months, we'll do this. And finally, Zach and I just said, you know what? It's never going to be the perfect time because it's never going to be the perfect time. Tomorrow turns into to yesterday, and then you just keep going. And it's just, it's going to take forever to do it if you don't just start. So I think, and that's true of anything. Start going to the gym, start a better diet, start a new job, whatever you want to do. It's just start. And then whatever comes, I think then after you start the process, then you let it go. Right. And just because you can't control the journey beyond that.
Yeah. Zach, I think it's amazing that you made room for your dad's perspective and made room for just acknowledging what his reality was. And I just want to honor that because I think it's so easy to hear. I mean, my initial reaction when I hear something like that is, oh my gosh, how hurtful, how awful, what, that's horrible. And I love that you said he came from a place of love. It wasn't because he didn't love me. It was because he thought this dream wasn't going to be a reality for me. And that is so big. That is just so big because I think there's a lot of people who really struggle with not knowing how to have those conversations with people and, and being afraid to have those conversations. And, you had kind of already said we had started the process. And so you knew he was wrong, but I love that you made room for that and you didn't let that hold you back from your plans.
Exactly.
You just started.
Yeah. Like Scott said, you just gotta start it. I mean, he was great about that. He just called some random clinic in New York one day and was like, we'd like an appointment. And
amazing.
That we did.
Amazing.
2 weeks later, yeah.
It turns out it was the absolute wrong play. And then Zach's like, let me take it from here, okay? Like hold you on. Obviously don't have hold my beer, let me take this from here.
There we go. Yeah. Well, you started somewhere and I'm glad you ended up in a better spot. Same. Oh my gosh. Well, you guys, my last question for you, and it's a fun one for anyone who knows me, and you guys have seen me just sipping on my coffee this whole time. Coffee and I am very codependent on her, and I always love to ask the question, what filled your cup today? Literally or figuratively, what's been the thing that has filled your cup today?
Oh my gosh. I would say all of us being at the park today, we were walking around. It was our first time being there as a family with the dogs. And it was just crazy for all the times we talked about wanting to do it and be like, oh my gosh, like, let's hope this transfer takes, let's hope we make it to this next trimester. And then we were there with her today. I just couldn't, like, my brain couldn't wrap around it. I was like, where did all the time go? Like, where has the last 2 years gone? Like, I'm just so happy and fortunate to be in this spot today. And it was the best. It was all worth it. All the stress, all the anxiety, that just totally filled my cup up. And it was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, dream turned reality.
Yeah.
Mine's a bit more mushy. I think I woke up when Zach was still asleep and he's doing bed sleeping with Andy, even though we said we weren't going to do it.
I'm awake.
Everyone has a right to change their mind.
Every day I wake up, where's Andy? Right on Zach's chest, right? Nuzzled into his long hair.
So
anyway,
cozy.
I wake up, whatever, king size bed. Our 2 Dalmatians have been sleeping in bed with us since we got them. So
we got a full house.
Yeah, I wake up. The house is quiet. It's 6 a.m. The sun's just coming up in Florida. And it's Zach laying there cooing with Andy laying there cooing on him and our dog sitting there sleeping. And I just you just take a moment, right? And you just realize work doesn't matter. Bills don't matter. Politics, all the bullshit going on in the world just doesn't really matter. Everything we need is right here in this house. We have a roof. We got food in the fridge. We got, everything that matters was in that room this morning.
I love that you both got to have those moments of reflection and because you're right, Scott. I mean, it's so easy to, okay, it's time to get up. We got to get going. It's time to feed. It's time to, we got to get work. We got to do, and you just go. And it's been go for 2 years of, just even getting Andy here and, to get to have those quiet moments or to look around amongst the chaos and realize that this was that thing that I had been waiting for. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. You guys, thank you so much for just sharing your story and all of the advice and getting to show off little Andy. She's so cute. Oh my gosh. And she's having her little snack.
Oh my gosh, she's milk drunk.
Oh, she's so milk drunk right now. Oh my goodness. Yes. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Me, You, and Who. We appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed our discussion today. As we wrap, we would like to remind you of some of the ways that you can stay connected with us and be part of the Me, You, and Who podcast community. Firstly, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode and can stay up to date with our latest content. But that's not all. We also have an exciting YouTube channel where we share some bonus content, behind the scenes glimpses, and video versions of our episodes. Head over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button there as well. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when the new episodes go live. And for more exclusive updates, engaging discussions, and a chance to connect with fellow listeners. Be sure to follow us on our social media accounts. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Create a Happy Family. If you're interested in finding out more about creating a happy family, please visit us at www.createahappyfamily.com. Thank you again for being part of the Me, You, and Who community. Your support means the world to us. I can't wait for you to join us next time as we continue to share stories and journeys of creating happy families.